10.1 Exponents. We have three key vocabulary: power, base, and exponent. So let's start by defining the word power. This is the product of repeated factors. Then we have the word base. That is the common factor. And lastly, we have exponent. This indicates the number of times the base is used as a factor. So I'm going to start with the base. I'm going to label that 1/2. Then I'm going to move on to my exponent. We'll say to the 5th power. Now this whole thing, 1/2 to the 5th power, is called the power. So 1/2 to the 5th power can also be written as 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. So when you have the base to a certain power, whatever that power is, that exponent, that's how many times you write the base. So example 1, writing expressions using exponents. A and B, the directions say write each product using exponents. So -7 times -7 times -7, that is the quantity -7 to the 3rd power. Next, we have pi times pi times r times r times r. Well, we have two different bases this time. We have pi and we have r. We have 2 pi, so that becomes pi squared. We have 3r, so that's r cubed. So pi squared times r cubed is my final answer. Now I want you to try on your own letter C and D. Let's check your work. Write each product using exponents. We have 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4 times 1/4. So our base is going to be 1/4. Our exponent is going to be 5 because there are a total of 5 1/4s. Next, for letter D, we have two different bases. We have 3/10 and we have x. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 3/10 and 2 x's. So my final answer is the quantity 3/10 to the 4th power times x squared. Now you'll notice for letter D, I put 0 and 3/10 into parentheses to remind myself that 0 and 3/10 is the base number. All right, example 2, evaluating expressions. Evaluate each expression. So the word right here, evaluate, means to solve each each expression. So -2 to the 4th power becomes quantity -2 times -2 times -2 times -2. Well, -2 times -2 is a +4. -2 times -2 is a +4. 4 times 4 gives you 16. Letter F. We have -2 to the 4th power. So we have -2 times 2 times 2 times 2. If you notice, letter F is written differently than letter E. For letter E, we had the quantity -2 that was in parentheses. So that meant we had 4 -2s. For letter F, we only have one negative. So we have -2 times +2, which is a -4. 2 times 2 is 4. -4 times 4 is a -16. So letter E and F are very similar. However, one is a positive, one's negative. Example 3, using order of operations. Evaluate each expression. All right, so order of operations, that is parentheses, exponents, multiplication or division, whichever come first, addition or subtraction, whatever come first. So for letter G, we have 3 plus 2 times the quantity of 3 to the 4th power. So I'm going to start with my exponents. 3 to the 4th power. That becomes 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. You could also plug that into a calculator. I'm actually going to rewrite it above. Make sure I have enough space. So 3 to the 4th power becomes 81. I'm going to multiply times 2 plus 3, multiply by 2 plus 3. So I'm just bringing down the 3 plus 2 and the multiplication between the 2 and the 81. Now I'm going to do the next step of multiply. 2 times the 81, which is 162. I'm going to add 3. 162 plus 3 gives me 165. Letter H. 3 to the 3rd minus 8 squared divided by 2. Well, I want to do my exponents first. So 3 times 3 times 3 minus 8 times 8 divided by 2. So 3 to the 3rd power gives me 27 minus 8 times 8, which is 64, divided by 2. The next operation is the division. 64 divided by 2 gives me 32. 27 minus 32, the final answer is -5. So let's try these next two problems. Evaluate this expression. Again, evaluate means solve. So -5 to the 4th is -5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Again, there aren't parentheses, so there's only one negative. -5 times 5 is -25. 5 times 5 gives me a positive 25. -25 times a positive 25, -625. Letter J, -1/6 to the 3rd power. So -1/6 times -1/6 times -1/6. Well, I'm going to break this down into -1 times -1 times -1 divided by 6 times 6 times 6. I'm multiplying my numerators, and then I'm multiplying my denominators. -1 times -1 times -1 equals -1. 6 to the 3rd power, or 6 times 6 times 6, is 216. So my final answer is -1 divided by 216. No, I do not want to make that into a decimal. I just want to leave it as a fraction. All right, letter K, -3 to the 3rd power divided by 27. Again, I want to solve using the order of operations. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication or division, whichever come first, addition or subtraction, whatever come first. -3 to the 3rd power is -3 times 3 times 3. Again, the negative only goes to one of them because it's not in parentheses. I'll divide that by 27, and this is the absolute value symbols. So as a reminder, we have the absolute value symbols, meaning that our answer is going to be positive no matter what. So -3 to the 3rd power is negative 27. We want to divide that by 27 and find the absolute value. So negative 27 divided by 27 is a negative 1. The absolute value of negative 1 equals 1. All right, letter L. 9 minus 2 to the 5th power, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And we're multiplying that by 5/10. Well, 2 to the 5th power gives me 32. So I want to do 9 minus 32 times 5/10. The next part is to do either multiplication or division, whichever comes first. So it's multiplication in this case. 32 times 5/10, that's the same thing as saying what's half of 32? Well, it's going to be 16. So 9 minus 16. 9 minus 16, or 9 plus negative 16, gives me the answer of negative 7. So real life application. In spearing, a person is secured inside a small hollow sphere that is surrounded by a larger sphere. The space between the spheres is inflated with air. What is the volume of the inflated sphere? In the inflated space. So let's go ahead and create 2 circles and label it as 3 meters from top to bottom for the outside sphere. And then for the inside sphere, it's going to be 2 meters. Okay, so we have the outer sphere and the inner sphere. The outer sphere, volume equals 4/3 pi r cubed. And we're going to use that same equation for the volume of the inner sphere. So going back to the outer sphere, we know that our radius is going to be 3 divided by 2. Because if we know that it is 2 meters, oh, I'm sorry, for the outer sphere, sorry. The outer sphere is 3 divided by 2 for the radius. So 4/3 times pi times 3/2 cubed. You want to put 3/2 in parentheses so you know that you are cubing the 3 and the 2. So that becomes 4/3 pi times 27/8 because I did 3 to the 3rd power, which is 27, 2 to the 3rd power, which was 8. And I'm going to put my fractions next to each other. 4/3 times 27/8 times pi. Well, I could do some cross reducing. That gives me a 1 and a 2. More cross reducing. 27 divided by 3 is 9. So that's going to give me the answer of 9/2 pi. Then for the inner sphere, I want to find my radius. That's going to be 1 meter because you do 2 divided by 1. So volume equals 4/3 pi 1 cubed. So that's just 4/3 pi. The last part that we need to do is subtract to find the distance. So we're trying to find the volume of the highlighted pink area. So we're going to take 9/2 pi and we're going to subtract 4/3 pi. Well, we need a common denominator, which is going to be a 6. First fraction to get from 2 to 6 and multiply by 3. 9 times 3 is 27. Second fraction, I have to multiply it by 2, so that gives me 8/6. 27/6 pi minus 8/6 pi is going to give us 19/6 pi cubic meters.